All right, so today we're going to be talking about the same book that we started yesterday, and we looked at A Bad Case of Stripes. And so what we're going to be looking at today, yesterday we looked at making predictions and how we can look at the outside of the book to make predictions on what it's going to be like, what the story is going to be like, and all those things. Today we're going to be looking at how characters change. So I want you to think about something. Take about 30 seconds, and then I'm going to ask you to answer the question. Are you the same person now? So on April 21st, 2020, are you the same person now that you were in pre-K? Think about that. And I'm not saying just like you're taller or your hair is different. I'm talking about on the inside. Are you the same person now that you were in pre-K? All right, let's start with Alasia. Are you the same person now that you were in pre-K?
No.
What about you has changed?
I
Do you know more? You sure? Think about school. In pre-K, do you know how to read fully in pre-K yet?
I don't know.
In pre-K, no, because you're like 3 or 4 in pre-K. So can all 3-year-olds, all 3 and 4-year-olds read?
No.
No. Can you read?
Yes.
Okay, so that's one thing that's different. Do you say things? So back then, when you were 3 or 4, it's easier for you to get away with certain things. Are you better at making friends now and keeping friends
Yes.
now? Yes, so that's different, right? So little stuff like that is different. It may not be drastic, but it is different because you are going to change over time. But Darian, what's different about you now that you're in 4th grade than when you were in pre-K?
I'm smarter.
Okay, what else?
I'm
When you were small, could you do certain things then that you can do now?
I couldn't do certain things then that I can do now.
What is it?
Okay, so now you're able to do things that you weren't able to do when you were smaller. Right. So we change. As people, we change. Even if you have like a pet, your pet changes. When I first got my dog, she was like 2. And I've had the dog for 6 years. So she's not doing the same stuff now as she did when she was 2. She's older. So she does not like to be bothered. She likes to lay on her bed all day. If another dog tries to play with her, if they playing too rough, she'll say, "Look, I got to go." And she will leave and come upstairs away from our other dog. She didn't used to be like that, but she changed as she grew. And so we do the same thing as people. And just like we do that as people, characters in books do the same thing. So your character at the beginning of the book is going to be different at the end. They're going to learn some type of lesson or they're going to grow in some way. So while we're reading today, I want you to be thinking about what's the difference between our main character, how do her emotions change from the beginning of the book to the end of the book, okay? So we're going to go ahead and start our video for the book. And Alasia, when it gets started again, just always give me that thumbs up to make sure that you can hear, okay? All right.
Hello and welcome to the Screen Actors Guild Foundation Book Pals. My name is Sean Astin, and I played Sam in Lord of the Rings. I love to read, especially to kids. I have a daughter whose name is Allie, and she loves it when I read to her. And we both love lima beans. The story I'm going to read to you is called A Bad Case of Stripes, written and illustrated by David Shannon.
Ladarian, why do you think he would bring up lima beans? That's so weird. You start off a book and you bring up lima beans. Why would he do that? Make an
Because he
inference.
likes them.
Huh?
Because he likes them.
What does that have to do? But would he do that if that didn't have anything to do with the book?
No.
No. So we saw lima beans, so that means that we need to be thinking about how is that going to come up in the book, right? Because he showed us lima beans, but I'm looking at her and she has stripes. So how do lima beans come into that? He would, but he think about it. Always think about those things. He wouldn't just bring up lima beans if they weren't important. Okay, so we have to look at those small details as well. Let's continue.
Allie loves this book. I hope you do too. Camilla Cream loved lima beans, but she never ate them. All of her friends hated lima beans, and she wanted to fit in. Camilla was always worried about what other people thought of her. Today, she was fretting even more than usual. It was the first day of school, and she couldn't decide what to wear. There were so many people to impress. She tried on 42 outfits, but none seemed quite right. She put on a pretty red dress and looked in the mirror. And then she screamed. Her mother ran into the room, and she screamed too. "Oh, my heavens," she cried. "You're completely covered with stripes." This was certainly true. Camilla was striped from head to toe. She looked like a rainbow. Mrs. Cream felt Camilla's forehead. "Do you feel all right?" she asked. "I feel fine," Camilla answered. "But just look at me." "You get back in bed this instant," her mother ordered. "You're not going to school today." Camilla was relieved. She didn't want to miss the first day of school, but she was afraid of what the other kids might say. And she had no idea what to wear with those crazy stripes. That afternoon, a bad case of stripes.
Sorry. Okay, so Alasia, hold on. I accidentally skipped the video. I wasn't trying to do that. Okay, Alasia,
She didn't want to miss the first day of school, but
there we go. How is she feeling right now? Not physically. How is she emotionally feeling right now?
I'm feeling like she would, like, if she missed the first day of school, that she would be the only one that wouldn't know everybody, but the other kids at school would, like, know mostly everybody.
Okay, so she felt like she wouldn't know other people. Did she feel relieved that she didn't know it, that she didn't have to go to school, or was she upset that she didn't have to go to school?
She was upset.
Look at the text. Was she? What was the first thing she did at the beginning of the book? She was doing what?
Trying on clothes.
Trying on clothes. Was that going well for her? Was she able to find an outfit that she liked?
No.
No. So if you can't find something to wear and you're trying to go to the first day of school, you're trying to impress somebody, you can't find something to wear, are you going to be happy or sad?
Sad.
Okay, so she's upset because she can't find anything to wear. She wants to impress the other kids. She wants to be, show them that she can be a really cool kid, but she's unable to find an outfit. Then she goes in there and she has stripes. So she's upset that she's sick, but she's relieved in a certain way because she doesn't have to go to school. Okay, so let's continue.
She was afraid of what the other kids might say. And she had no idea what to wear with those crazy stripes. That afternoon, Dr. Bumble came to examine Camilla. "Most extraordinary," he exclaimed. "I've never seen anything like it. Are you having any coughing, sneezing, runny nose, aches, pains, chills, hot flashes, dizziness, drowsiness, shortness of breath, or uncontrollable twitching?" "No," Camilla told him. "I feel fine." "Well then," Dr. Bumble said, turning to Mrs. Cream, "I don't see any reason why she shouldn't go to school tomorrow. Here's some ointment that should help her clear up those stripes in a few days. If it doesn't, you know where to reach me." And off he went. The next day was a disaster. Everyone at school laughed at Camilla. They called her Camilla Crayon and Night of the Living Lollipop. She tried her best to act as if everything were normal. But when the class said the Pledge of Allegiance, her stripes turned red, white, and blue, and she broke out in stars. The other kids thought this was great. One yelled out, "Let's see some purple polka dots." Sure enough, Camilla turned all purple polka dot. Someone else shouted, "Checkerboard!" and a pattern of squares covered her skin. Soon, everyone was calling out different shapes and colors, and poor Camilla was changing faster than you can change channels on a TV. That night, Mr. Harms, the school principal, called. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Cream," he said. "I'm going to have to ask you to keep Camilla home from school. She's just too much of a distraction, and I've been getting calls from the other parents. They're afraid those stripes may be contagious." Camilla was so embarrassed. She couldn't believe that 2 days ago everyone liked her. Now nobody wanted to be in the same room with her. Her father tried to make her feel better. "Is there anything I can get you, sweetheart?" he asked. "No, thank you," sighed Camilla. What she really wanted was a nice plate of lima beans. But she'd been laughed at enough for one day. Well, yes, I see," Dr. Bumble mumbled when Mr. Cream phoned the next day. "I think I'd better bring in the specialists. We'll be right over." About an hour later, Dr. Bumble arrived with 4 people in long white coats. He introduced them to the Creams. "This is Dr. Grop, Dr. Sponge, Dr. Cricket, and Dr. Young." Then the specialists went to work on Camilla. They squeezed and jabbed, tapped and tested. It was very uncomfortable. "Well, it's not the mumps," concluded Dr. Grop. "Or the measles," said Dr. Sponge. "Definitely not chicken pox," put in Dr. Cricket. "Or sunburn," said Dr. Young. "Try these," said the specialists. They each handed her a bottle filled with different colored pills. "Take one of each before bed," said Dr. Grop. Then they filed out the front door, followed by Dr. Bumble. That night, Camilla took her medicine. It was awful. When she woke up the next morning, she did feel different. But when she got dressed, her clothes didn't fit right. She looked in the mirror, and there, staring back at her, was a giant, multicolored pill with her face on it. Dr. Bumble rushed over as soon as Mrs. Cream called, but this time, instead of the specialists, he brought the experts. Dr. Gourd and Mr. Mellon were the finest scientific minds in the land. Once again, Camilla was poked and prodded, looked at and listened to. The expert wrote down lots of numbers. Then they huddled together and whispered. Dr. Gourd finally spoke. "It might be a virus," he announced with authority. Suddenly, funny little virus balls appeared all over Camilla. "Oh, possibly some form of bacteria," said Mr. Mellon. Out popped squiggly little bacteria tails. "Or it could be a fungus," added Dr. Gourd. Instantly, Camilla was covered with different colored fungus blotches.
All right, Ladarian. Now she's had 3 sets of doctors, right? So she had The first doctor she went to. Now she had, a group of specialists. Now she has these scientists, and nobody's been able to help her. How do you think she's feeling right now?
Upset
Why?
because she can't fix her stripes.
She can't fix her stripes. And what do the kids do to her when she goes to school?
Make fun of her.
They make fun of her. Nobody wants to be made fun of. Nobody wants to be made to feel like they're ugly or like they're not like they shouldn't be there or like they're a nuisance. They get on your nerves. Nobody wants to feel like that. So she wants to get better, but nobody can help her. So she is upset right now. Okay, let's continue.
The experts looked at Camilla and then at each other. We need to go over the numbers again back at the lab, Dr. Gord explained. We'll call you when we know something. But the experts didn't have a clue, much less a cure. By now, the TV news had found out about Camilla. Reporters from every channel were outside her house, telling the story of the bizarre case of the incredible changing kid. Soon, a huge crowd was camped out on the front lawn. The Creams were swamped with all kinds of remedies, from psychologists, allergists, herbalists, nutritionists, psychics, an old medicine man, a guru, and even a veterinarian. Each so-called cure only added to poor Camilla's strange appearance, until it was hard to even recognize her. She sprouted roots, and berries, and crystals, and feathers, and a long furry tail. But nothing worked. One day, a woman who called herself an environmental therapist claimed she could cure Camilla. "Close your eyes," she said. "Breathe deeply and become one with your room."
All right, so these people have spent all this time trying to figure out what the cure is for this. Anthony, what do you think the cure could be?
She has like a disease and nobody can help it.
So what do you think the cure is going to be for the disease she has?
Uh, like I'm confused with the word Confucius, whatever that word is. I'm confused with that.
The word that I'm using,
Yes, ma'am.
are you talking about, I'm trying to remember what word I said.
You said Confucius, something like that.
I was saying cure. So when I say the word cure, I mean how do they take it away? Like for example, when you have a cold, what medicine do you take?
Cough medicine.
Right. Cough medicine is considered the cure for a cold. It takes the cold away, it makes you feel better. So what do you think is something that could make her feel better or take her stripes away?
Cough medicine.
Cough medicine, you think they need to try cough medicine? Tamaya, what do you think?
She ate the llama beans.
Why do you think if she ate the lima beans that would help her? Why do you make that prediction?
Because she really liked the llama beans, but when she found out that nobody else liked them, she stopped eating them.
Let's keep reading because I think you may be on to something, Tamaya.
Well, I wish you hadn't said that, Camilla groaned. Slowly, she started to melt into the walls of her room. Her bed became her mouth, her nose was a dresser, and 2 paintings were her eyes. The therapist screamed and ran from the house. "What are we gonna do?" cried Mrs. Cream. "It just keeps getting worse and worse." She began to sob. At that moment, Mr. Cream heard a quiet little knock at the front door. He opened it, and there stood an old woman who was just as plump and sweet as a strawberry. Excuse me, she said brightly, but I think I can help. She went into Camilla's room and looked around. My goodness, she said with a shake of her head. What we have here is a bad case of stripes, one of the worst I've ever seen. She pulled a container of small green beans from her bag. Here, she said, these might do the trick. Are those magic beans? Asked Mrs. Cream. Oh, my, no, replied the kind old woman. There's no such thing. These are just plain old lima beans. I'll bet you'd like some, wouldn't you? She asked Camilla. Camilla wanted a big, heaping plateful of lima beans more than just about anything. But she was still afraid to admit it. Yuck, she said. No one likes lima beans, especially me. Oh, dear, the old woman said sadly. I guess I was wrong about you. She put the beans back in her bag and started toward the door. Camilla watched the old woman walk away. Those beans would taste so good. Being laughed at for eating them was nothing compared to what she'd been going through. She finally couldn't stand it. Wait, she cried. The truth is, I really love lima beans. I thought so, the old woman said with a smile. She took a handful of beans and popped them into Camilla's mouth. Said Camilla. Suddenly, the branches, feathers, and squiggly tails began to disappear. Then the whole room swirled around. When it stopped, there stood Camilla, and everything was back to normal. I'm cured, she shouted. Yes, said the old woman. I knew the real you was in there somewhere. She patted Camilla on the head. Then she went outside and vanished into the crowd. Afterward, Camilla wasn't quite the same. Some of the kids at school said she was weird, but she didn't care a bit. She ate all the lima beans she wanted, and she never had even a touch of stripes again. Well, pretty good, right? I liked it. My daughter likes it, and we like lima beans. So, I don't know about you, but if you can get a hold of some of these things, well, books, lima beans, whatever, I recommend it.
All right, everybody. So Tamaya was spot on. She was spot on when she said that she thought that the lima beans were the cure, and they were. Lima beans were the cure for her stripes. Very good, Tamaya. So remember when we first started, we talked about lima beans, and I asked Darian, why would he show us lima beans? And he made a prediction then that it was going to be important to the story. And both Ladarian and Samara were absolutely right. Lima beans were the cure for stripes. So think for a second, take about 30 seconds, and think about the question that I'm going to ask. How did Camilla change from the beginning of the story to the end? How did her emotions change? Think about it.
She started not to care what people thought.
Okay. So how does that compare to how she was at the beginning of the book, Tamaya?
At the beginning, she would always try to impress other people.
Okay. And then at the end, she didn't care what they thought at all. So was she still trying to impress them?
No, ma'am.
No, she wasn't. Does anybody else want to add? Good job, Tamaya. Does anybody else want to add anything? I haven't heard from King or Bryant. If you would like to add anything to what Tamaya just said.
Yeah, I ate all the lima beans she could.
Okay, she ate all the lima beans she could. And why, when the book first started, was she willing to eat the lima beans, Bryant?
No.
No. Why not? Do you remember?
Because the friends didn't like lima beans.
Right. So her other friends didn't like lima beans. So she didn't want to eat them because she wanted to be like everybody else. At the end, did she care what other people thought when she ate her lima beans, Bryant?
No.
No, she didn't. So that is another change. Anybody else want to add something? Okay, so I will show you how to get to your assignment for the day, and I'll show you exactly how it works, okay? So that you're not confused, because it can be a little confusing. So, as always, you're gonna go to Clever. You're gonna click on the link that says Venn diagram. Y'all can still see all this, correct? Give me thumbs up if you can see this. Okay. You're going to click Get Started. Okay, and then another screen is going to pop up. Let me show you the screen that pops up. Can y'all see this? It's like a black screen. And now it says Venn diagram. Can you see that? Thumbs up if you can see that. Okay, you're gonna type your name, which my name is Mrs. Poplar. And then your project title, you're gonna put a bad case. Okay, then you're gonna put start. This side of the circle, the green circle, is going to talk about what her emotions were at the beginning of the book. The pink circle is going to talk about what her emotions were at the end of the book. In order to put in your circle how she was, you're going to click New Item. You're going to type where it says label your item, you're going to type what she was. So we know that she was sad at the beginning. And I'm going to put sad on this side. Okay. Now, I know that in the end, she was happy. So I'm going to put that on this side. Now, if I have any emotions that she feels the same, that doesn't change, then obviously they will go. When she feels the same way in the beginning and in the end, then I will put that right here in this middle circle, okay? Whenever I'm done, I'm gonna take a picture of this screen and I'm gonna send it to Miss Poplar, which is me, okay? Does anyone have any questions? Miss Fraley, if you go ahead, Miss Fraley. You're on mute. Hold on.
Okay.
There you
I
go.
have enjoyed the lesson. I'm gonna tell you, I really enjoyed the oral. You have it built into your lesson. And I enjoyed the visuals with the Venn diagram. I have to go and schedule a call. I got dyslexia stuff to do, but I really, really will be. I may not be in every day, but I'm gonna definitely be popping in. And I'm gonna give you a shout out.
Thank you, Miss Fraley, for hopping in and joining us today. We appreciate you for coming.
You are awesome.
Does anybody else have any questions before we go for the day? Any questions? All right, y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Let me know if you need anything. Bye.